The story begins far away from Beacon Hills, in Japan. Liam Dunbar, once Scott McCall's beta and loyal friend, now lives there with Hikari Zhang, a mysterious but skilled kitsune warrior. Together, they run a restaurant. On the surface, it looks like they've found peace, far removed from the chaos of supernatural battles. But beneath this calm exterior, a secret is being guarded. Hidden inside the restaurant is a box, an ancient, dangerous container that holds something too dark to be released into the world. Inside it, the Nogitsune has been sealed. One evening, when the restaurant should have been closing, a single man enters. He doesn't look like an ordinary customer. His expression is sharp, determined, as though he knows exactly what he's come for. Liam notices him immediately, and so does Hikari. The air grows tense, heavy with the sense that something terrible is about to happen. The man strikes. Chairs are overturned, dishes shatter, and the fight explodes in an instant. Liam shifts into his werewolf form, claws out, fighting to defend the box. Hikari moves with grace, her kitsune power flashing in her strikes. Together, they are strong, but the stranger is relentless. In the heat of the struggle, the box is knocked free, tumbling across the floor. It cracks. And from that crack, a single firefly drifts out. At first, it looks small and harmless, glowing faintly as it flutters into the air. But both Liam and Hikari freeze. They know what it means. That firefly carries the Nogitsune spirit, the trickster demon of chaos and pain that once possessed Styles Stilinski. The enemy that nearly destroyed Scott's pack years ago is free once more. And as the firefly slips out into the night, Liam realizes the nightmare has begun again. Back in California, far from Japan, Scott McCall is living a quieter life. Years have passed since his days at Beacon Hills High. He is older now, but his heart has not changed. He is still the protector. We first see him when disaster strikes, an apartment building fire. A little boy and her dog are trapped inside, smoke filling the rooms, flames spreading fast. While others wait for firefighters, Scott doesn't hesitate. He charges inside, pushing past the fire and the smoke. He finds the girl clinging to her terrified dog, coughing from the smoke. Scott lifts them both, shielding them, and carries them out of danger. It's a reminder of who he is, not just a werewolf, but the true alpha who always risks everything to save others. Meanwhile, Lydia Martin is thriving in her career. She's no longer the high school student haunted by banshee screams. She has grown into a powerful and successful woman, leading her own company. Yet even with her polished life, something is wrong. Lydia begins to have visions, powerful and disturbing ones. The images that haunt her are not random. She keeps seeing Allison Argent, the girl they lost years ago, the hunter who was Scott's first love, the one whose death still lingers like an open wound. Lydia knows better than anyone that banshee visions mean something. They're not dreams, not tricks of the mind. They are warnings. And this vision of Allison feels too real, too heavy with meaning, for her to ignore. At the same time, Scott himself begins to feel a strange pull. He has dreams, flashes of Allison's face, moments that feel alive with memory and emotion. He tries to dismiss them at first, thinking they're nothing more than old feelings surfacing. But they keep coming back, stronger each time. Lydia and Scott, both in different places, both haunted by Allison, it's no coincidence. Something is happening, and Allison is at the center of it. In Beacon Hills, life has moved on for others as well. Sheriff Stilinski is still serving his town. Older now, his hair more gray, but his spirit is steady. He remains a father figure to many, a grounding force amidst the chaos. Melissa McCall continues to dedicate herself as a nurse, but she's also still Scott's rock, the voice of guidance and care that reminds him who he is when the world tries to break him. Then there's Derek Hale. No longer the lone wolf burdened by tragedy, Derek is now a father. He's raising his son, Eli Hale, who carries the bloodline of werewolves within him. But Eli struggles deeply. He refuses to shift, avoids his wolf nature, and resists his father's guidance. Derek, who has suffered and fought his entire life, now faces a different kind of battle, teaching his son to accept who he is. Their relationship is strained. Eli runs from responsibility, while Derek grows frustrated with his son's unwillingness to embrace his legacy. Chris Argent, Allison's father, is also still present. Though strong and composed as always, he lives with the wound of his daughter's death. 4 years, he has carried the pain of losing Allison in the battle against the Oni. The grief shaped him, but it has not broken him. Yet when whispers of Allison's possible return surface, Chris finds himself caught between hope and fear. Lydia's visions intensify. She not only sees Allison's face but also sees death and blood wrapped around her presence. It becomes impossible for her to ignore. Scott, too, begins to realize that these visions are not random. The memories and dreams he's been having are not just grief. Something, or someone, is bringing Allison back. And then the truth comes out. The Nogitsune's release has torn open the veil between life and death. In its twisted, cruel way, it has resurrected Allison. She is alive again, but her return is not pure. She has been pulled back into the world tied to the Nogitsune's chaos. When Allison appears, it is heartbreaking. She is real, breathing, standing before Scott and her father. But something is terribly wrong. Her mind is fractured. She doesn't remember who she is. She doesn't remember Scott's love, or the bond she had with her friends. The Nogitsune has clouded her, manipulated her, making her believe Scott is her enemy instead of the boy who once held her heart. Scott is crushed. He has dreamed of Allison for years, haunted by her loss. And now she stands before him, alive, yet not the Allison he remembers. He wants to run to her, to hold her, to remind her of everything they once shared. But when he does, she recoils. Her arrows are aimed at him, her eyes filled with confusion and hostility. For the Nogitsune, this is the perfect weapon. Scott is distracted by his love and his grief. The pack is thrown into emotional chaos. And Allison, the skilled hunter, becomes the puppet of a trickster spirit that thrives on pain. Scott, Lydia, Derek, Chris, and the others realize this battle will not simply be about defeating the Nogitsune. This time, it's personal. To save Beacon Hills, to save each other, they will first have to save Allison's soul. They must remind her of who she was before the darkness took hold. For Scott, seeing Allison alive is like a dream come true, but the dream quickly becomes a nightmare when she doesn't recognize him. Instead, she looks at him as if he's the enemy, her bow drawn, her arrows sharp. Chris Argent, her father, can hardly believe his eyes. 4 years, he's carried the grief of losing her, and now she stands in front of him. But just like Scott, Chris realizes that the daughter before him is not whole. The Nogitsune has infected her heart. Scott tries again and again to reach Allison, pleading with her, reminding her of who she was, of their love, of their battles together. But she lashes out, her hunter's instincts turning against him. To her fractured mind, Scott McCall is not her ally, he is her prey. At the same time, Liam and Hikari arrive in Beacon Hills, knowing the firefly they failed to contain has unleashed chaos. They tell the pack that the Nogitsune is not only free but more dangerous than ever. This time, it has no body of its own, it hides in the shadows, weaving illusions, creating chaos, and feeding on pain. And worst of all, it uses Allison as its weapon. As the days pass, strange things happen all over town. Shadows move where they shouldn't. People hear whispers in the dark. Scott and his pack begin to realize the Nogitsune is building something. Traps within traps, a game of pain and fear. One of its cruelest tricks is targeting Eli Hale, Derek's teenage son. Eli has always struggled with who he is. Unlike other werewolf children, he refuses to shift. He feels the wolf inside him, but he rejects it, afraid of what it might make him. Derek pushes him to accept his nature, but Eli resists, causing a rift between father and son. The Nogitsune preys on this insecurity, planting doubt in Eli's mind, making him believe he'll never be enough. Meanwhile, Allison begins to slowly regain flashes of her past. In moments of silence, she sees glimpses, her mother, her friends, her time in Beacon Hills. Most painfully, she remembers her own death. She recalls standing against the Oni, protecting her friends, and taking her final breath in Scott's arms. These fragments confuse her. They clash with the Nogitsune's whispers, creating a storm inside her mind. Scott sees these moments of hesitation and clings to them. He believes if he can reach her heart, remind her of their love, she'll break free from the Nogitsune's control. But the battle for her soul is far from easy. The Nogitsune escalates its game. It creates illusions, summoning Oni warriors to haunt Beacon Hills. These shadow demons, unstoppable and terrifying, begin attacking the pack. Each Oni strike spreads fear, pain, and despair, the very things the Nogitsune feeds upon. Liam and Hikari, familiar with Oni from their time in Japan, fight desperately to hold them back, but the battles grow fiercer with each encounter. In one chilling moment, Scott nearly dies at Allison's hands. She corners him, arrow aimed directly at his chest. Scott doesn't fight back. Instead, he bares his heart, telling her the truth, how he loved her, how losing her broke him, how he's never stopped carrying her memory. Allison hesitates. The arrow trembles in her hand. For just a moment, she sees the boy she once loved, not the enemy the Nogitsune tells her he is. But the moment shatters when the Nogitsune's influence surges again, pushing her deeper into confusion. The pack grows desperate. They realize they can't simply fight the Nogitsune with claws and weapons. To defeat it, they need to weaken its hold on Allison. And the only way to do that is to remind her of who she truly is. Lydia, remembering her own visions, plays a key role. She tells Allison stories from their past, how they became friends, how they fought together, how Allison once saved her life. Chris Argent steps in too, speaking as her father. He recalls moments only she would know, memories of family and love. Slowly, piece by piece, Allison begins to fight against the fog in her mind. But the Nogitsune will not give her up so easily. It launches its final, most dangerous trap. Using its illusions, it captures Scott, Derek, and others, pulling them into a twisted arena of shadows. The Oni swarm around them, unstoppable, cutting off every escape. The Nogitsune appears fully now, not as flesh and bone, but as a haunting, shifting figure of darkness, a demon wrapped in shadow. It taunts them. It tells Scott he cannot save everyone. It tells Derek he will watch his son fall. It tells Allison she will never be whole again. Each word drips with poison, meant to break their spirits. The battle that follows is chaos. Claws slash, arrows fly, banshee screams echo, but the Oni seem endless. Scott and Derek fight back to back, protecting Eli, who is finally forced to face his fear. In the heat of the fight, Eli's wolf finally emerges. His eyes glow, his claws extend, and for the first time, he shifts. Derek sees his son accept who he is, and pride flickers in his eyes. Yet even with Eli's awakening, the fight turns grim. The Nogitsune targets Scott directly, dragging him down, binding him in shadows. Allison stands nearby, torn between the Nogitsune's control and her own rising memories. She raises her bow again, this time, the arrow pointed at the Nogitsune itself. In a moment of clarity, Allison remembers the truth, who she is, who Scott is, and what they once meant to each other. She fires. The arrow pierces through the illusion, weakening the Nogitsune. But the trickster isn't finished. With a roar, it summons more Oni, swarming the group, trapping them in an unwinnable battle. And then comes the moment that changes everything. Derek realizes what must be done. The Nogitsune feeds on chaos and pain, but its connection can be severed, if it is burned out from the inside. Derek grabs the Nogitsune, locking it in his arms, holding it in place. Scott looks at him, horror in his eyes, realizing what Derek intends. "No!" Scott shouts, but Derek doesn't let go. He looks at his son, Eli, one last time. And then, with fire surrounding them, Derek makes the ultimate sacrifice. The flames engulf him and the Nogitsune together, destroying the trickster once and for all. The battle is over. The Nogitsune is gone. The Oni vanish into smoke. But Derek is gone too. In the aftermath, the pack gathers, mourning their friend, their brother, their leader. Eli is devastated, but he also carries pride. His father's final act was not just one of sacrifice, but of love. Derek gave his life to save his son, his pack, and Beacon Hills. He died a true alpha. Scott holds Allison close, finally reunited with the woman he lost. Though her memories will take time to fully return, she is herself again. Together, they stand with their friends, battered but unbroken. Lydia finds strength in knowing her visions led them to this victory. Chris carries both grief and hope, his daughter returned but his old friend gone. Melissa comforts Scott, reminding him, as always, that love and sacrifice are what make him who he is. Sheriff Stilinski, older but steady, watches over them all, proud of the family that has grown from the chaos. The final scene leaves us with a reminder that Beacon Hills will never truly be free of darkness. The battles will always come, the supernatural will always rise. But as long as Scott McCall and his pack stand together, there will always be hope. And though Derek is gone, his legacy lives on, in his son Eli, in the pack he fought for, and in the fire of sacrifice that proves heroes never truly die.